Joining me today is Harri Pereira, who is a founder and high performance coach, and he is supporting leaders and entrepreneurs to unlock and maximize their full potential. Hello, Harri. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you in the studio with me. And something which really stood out for me on your website is a phrase: the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. And I feel like this is such a powerful call to action. So I would like to ask you, which is a seed that aspiring entrepreneurs or leaders could plant today in order to grow a tree of success in the future?
Mm. I think the only seed you really need to plant in order for all of the other trees to grow as well is the commitment that you have for yourself, and the commitment and the intention to be introspective and to grow as an individual. And I think that that could manifest, the growth can manifest in financial success or in your career, in a relationship, in health goals, in social or family. Like, there's specific things that many people want to pursue within those areas. Like, for me, a massive one of those was fitness.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean necessarily that everyone has to plant the seed or start growing and setting themselves fitness goals. I think it's definitely beneficial, but it's like, have a commitment to yourself, and that's the seed that you need to plant so that the others can grow around that, and they're going to grow as a result of that. So I think that when we're talking about like what actions are you going to do today in order to serve yourself in the future, it's all about like, well, what are you going to not regret? What behaviors are you going to not regret? I'm not going to regret now working as hard as I can in my business in order to create financial success and impact on millions of lives. I'm not going to regret putting a lot of time into my health and creating the best body and the best fitness that I can and setting myself these crazy goals. I'm not going to regret that. So let's lean into that, and let's put some work in there. So I think that's a good place to start. It's like, look at what you would feel as though you would regret in 10, 20, 30, 40 years time, and
Mhm.
work backwards, or what you would regret or wouldn't regret. Yeah. And I think that a lot of people, when they get anxious or depressed in later life, is because of the fact that they haven't planted those seeds early on. And that's a tough pill to swallow. And I've worked with a lot of the people that have actually been in that situation. And it's like, okay, well, let's start planting those seeds now.
The power of now.
Yeah, the power of now,
Yes.
like Cartel, yeah.
And it's a powerful message. And I know that you are on this wonderful mission of trying to support entrepreneurs, leaders to unlock and maximize their full potential. Maybe you can tell me a bit more about your story in the self
Mm.
development area, and which were like the moments or maybe the challenges that pushed you into this direction.
Self-development for me was something that was kind of forced upon me. I didn't know really what it was until I was about 24, right?
Mm,
I didn't, I'm 30 now, but
okay.
really, like, self-development for me has only come into my conscious awareness since I was in my early 20s. And of course, it's been a very popular industry for a long time. I think now it's peaking.
Yes, exactly. I
Yeah.
think now
And
the
now it's also,
popularity is increasing for sure.
exactly, and it's almost fluffy now. It's almost like, they're kind of talking about manifestation and the law of attraction and that sort of stuff now, but it has its place. And I think that, like, I only really started reading when I was in my early 20s. I only started enjoying it when I was in my early 20s. Um, I used to hate it. I used to hate it when I was younger. Hate reading, hate learning, hate doing anything educational when I was younger. Then I went to uni and I finished
But
that.
then, sorry to interrupt, but what did you enjoy doing before
Sport,
discovering sport?
sport.
Sport was
That
your
was my
thing.
life.
Okay.
Sport, fitness. I went to the gym for the first time when I was about 13 or 14.
Oh,
Loved
that's
it.
really young to
Exactly. Yeah,
start.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I should be a lot bigger and fitter than I am, but here we go. But no, it's, look, I said it was forced upon me. Like, I
Mhm.
went through some difficult times when I was in my early
Mhm.
20s. My mum passed away, so going through grief
Oh,
at a young age, as well as having a brother he's 8 years younger than me,
okay.
and supporting him through that, or trying to look after myself through that. My dad, my mum's family and everything like that. It was a testing time.
I'm sure.
And I just started my business prior to that happening. So when I say it was forced upon me, it was like you've got two paths from here. You can lean into the fact that you're faced with huge adversity at the age of 25, and you're now having to really focus and put all your energy into your business, into yourself, into not letting your negative and pervasive thoughts consume you and not go into a hole of darkness. Or you can take that other path, which is to victimize yourself and to be like, well, life's not fair. I shouldn't have had this happen to me, and all of that sort of stuff. So it was clear for me that there was two paths, but really that this door was shut the whole time. The path to the darkness, let's say, or the victim mentality, that was shut for me. It was never even an option. I saw it was there, it was a choice, but it was never an option for me. Like, it was obvious that I was like, okay, so let's learn about this. Let's use this. And Tony Robbins says, I listened to a lot of his stuff and read a lot of his stuff, and he says, whatever happens to you, use it. And I think that was the mentality that I had through that subconsciously, was that I just have to use this. It was the worst thing I ever went through, but I had to find a way to use it. And I was literally coaching my clients the day before she passed away. She passed away of cancer.
Oh, I'm
so
sorry.
It was like
about
a
it.
little bit of a slower process. The day before and the day after, I was coaching my clients the whole time. And I was,
Do you
maybe
think that was a way for you, like, to distract
100%.
yourself in a way?
For sure. Yeah, I was relentlessly distracting myself, but I was also going completely the other way. And if you look at my calendar 5 years ago, there's time blocks to sit down and like write letters about to my mum and about my experiences, write in my journal, think about my mum. I used to meditate, and I used to like actively just sit there and think about my childhood with her. So yeah, on one side I was distracting myself with new business ideas, with coaching, and on the other side, and fitness challenges as well. I set myself some crazy fitness challenges, and on the other side, I was like giving a lot of time to this, and breaking down a lot, and I was crying a lot of the days, and really upset a lot of times. So it was like this weird balancing act. And what I take from that is that there's no right or wrong way to do it. If you see someone who's going through this, it's like they could be distracting themselves, but as long as they're aware of that, like I was aware I was distracting myself, and I was like, this is what I want to do.
But still, I think you were distracting yourself in a productive way.
Exactly.
So,
I could have been doing a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So that was the first time I really started like properly thinking about me. Like who am I? Like asking myself these existential questions. Who am I? Why do I do what I do? Why do I show up in the way I show up? What are my biggest insecurities? What are my biggest limitations? How can I create the most amount of success in my career and my business as possible? I started like asking myself these pretty deep questions.
And I think most of these questions don't have a clear answer maybe for our entire life. It's like as long as we live, we still learn
for sure
some of the answers.
Absolutely.
And as the answers can differ depending on which cycle of life are we in, probably.
100%. 100%.
And after going on this journey for yourself, how did you discover the passion that you wanted to go one step further and support also other people?
I was already coaching at this point. I finished uni, and I pretty much started my business straight away. I came out to Dubai, and I was teaching, and I was also doing fitness and personal
that's
training.
Cool. You were a teacher.
I was, yeah.
Okay.
When I first get like a lot of people in Dubai, but then I started my coaching business on the side. I was just PTing and doing fitness coaching, and that slowly developed into working with people on a real, more of a deep kind of way in terms of their behavior, because they weren't following the things that I was getting them to do in terms of their nutrition, their habits, their exercise. And then that progressed into just being fascinated with behavior and the psyche, right? Because if you actually learn about human behavior and actions, which is going to the gym, or it is choosing the healthy food over the unhealthy food, or it is balancing your life, it is sleep, it is habits. If you go just one step deeper into that, you have behavior. And if you keep going, you find a place where people do things they don't know that they do, and they don't know why they do them. And I think if you can understand those things to a point, and you can uncover why you know why you do what you do, then you can start to manipulate it and change it. And you can actually follow a path that you want in life. So I just went down this kind of rabbit hole with a lot of these self-development books and learning a lot through courses, through mentorship, learning about myself. And that's what took me to the next level in terms of like, okay, I need to now, like, I want to like completely change my business and focus on bringing the best out of an individual, but not just from a health perspective, from a business perspective, from a life perspective, from relationships internally. So that was like a natural progression for me.
Thank you so much for opening up and for being so vulnerable and speaking so open about your life and about your truth. And speaking of self-development, I'm also reading a little bit about this topic. And currently I'm reading a book from Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And it's basically about how a human being can recreate their life and themselves, and considering a future that they want to achieve. And this is basically done through like changing old habits, rewiring the brain, and teaching the emotions to be more in sync with the future that is desired. But we as human beings, we often are falling into a loop of thoughts and emotions that usually follow the same pattern. And guess what? They will lead to the same results. That's why I would like to ask, um, how can we break this cycle, and how can we like recreate ourselves?
Simple answer is pattern interrupts. All right, you can interrupt the pattern, because like most people who are depressed and anxious, as you mentioned, they're just generating the same thoughts. Like they're going over the same things over and over again. Like they don't really have many new thoughts, and nothing new comes in to their internal body. So you can just break that cycle. And how we do that is through awareness, okay? And being aware that you're aware, which sounds kind of weird, but it's like, okay, being aware that you then have the conscious choice to choose a different path, to have a different thought, to use different resources. You have choice, and most people don't actually have the awareness to even make that choice. Everyone talks about like decisions, and it's up to you to create your future. Well, most people don't have the awareness of that. So if we're talking about recreating ourselves, first we've got to have the awareness that we can recreate ourselves. Then we've got to interrupt the patterns. So you've got to have enough awareness in the moment that you're able to stop yourself thinking in a type of way, stop yourself going through the spiral and the rabbit hole that you're currently thinking in. And you'll find that it's just this process. You mentioned before the podcast that you're an overthinker. I'm an overthinker as well. And if I don't stop myself and interject somewhere in that cycle, this question will lead to this place. This question will lead to this place. And then I'll get another question which will lead here. And if I don't come in and bring awareness to any of those questions, I will keep going and I will end up in a place I don't want to end up in. And usually that place that I end up in is some sort of decision I don't really truly want to make, or a behavior that I don't truly want to behave in. Okay. So you then are acting unconsciously through decisions you didn't really know how they got there, through thoughts that are repetitive and pervasive and overwhelming. So the simple answer is pattern interrupts. Interrupt the pattern. Many people are like looking to improve their health, and they will unconsciously walk to the fridge, unconsciously open the door, choose the food that they know they shouldn't, and they're not even hungry, eat it, see the wrapper and be like, "What? I didn't even want that." Well, what if you were to have the awareness as you're walking to the fridge to ask yourself a question? Ask yourself a new question. Do I want this? Do I need this? How am I going to feel after I eat this? Most people don't have that. Everyone has the ability to do it. Actually, I'm going to correct myself. Everyone has the ability to do that, but most people don't do it. Why? Because we have too many distractions. We have an unhealthy environment. We have the things too readily available, convenience. There's many reasons as to why. I say the two main are environment and distractions. So if you want to break the habit of being yourself, like Joe Dispenza, he goes into it much more in that book. It's a great book on a scientific level, but it's really like your brain is wired in a way that is going to take you down processes through your own conditioning. So you've got to interject somewhere, and practicing being aware and conscious in the moment is a very powerful thing. And that's why so many of the gurus speak about it. Like Eckhart Tolle, he's always preaching being in the now, being in the moment. And that is the reason why, because you end up going down a path that you don't really want to go down if you're not aware.
It's true. But I think it's not always so easy, to break.
Simple, not easy.
Yes.
Simple, not easy. Nothing. I don't think anything is easy, but I think everything is actually very simple.
Yeah, we just need to learn how to tame that side of us.
Yeah, taming the mind is a life's journey, and I think,
of course,
when you mentioned a word, rewiring, and I think that's like something that I talk about a lot, and especially in my program is all about focus, right? Focus and clarity. And you can go as deep as you want with focus. It's not about productivity. Like productivity is a mere surface level act of getting into flow, but focus on the thoughts that you want, focus on the feelings that you want to cultivate, the emotions, focus on the goals that you want to achieve, and focus on yourself. Like real deep level focus is not productivity. It's ignoring what's going on around you and acting from your higher self. And the only way to do that is if you can rewire what goes on up here and learn to tame and master those thoughts.
We're lucky that we have neuroplasticity, so
exactly
can rewire way the neurons are connected. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes. Going further, I would like to know, what is your own definition of success? And which are some elements that we as individuals should be focusing on in order to achieve long-lasting success?
Success to me is about working on things you want to work on that mean something to you. It is about not losing yourself in the process. It's about maintaining a level of presence and attention and not getting pulled in any direction, and being able to live true to yourself whilst doing all of that. Of course, we have, let's say, the 8 dimensions of life. If people have heard of that, it could be the wheel of life, but it's really like the facets of life, the life domains. You have things like health, social, occupational, financial, mental, physical, all of these types of health. And that's how I see success, is okay, if you can get to some sort of equilibrium within all of those dimensions, that's somewhat successful. I don't believe that like success can be determined by purely just your financial status. I don't think it can also be determined from how like healthy you are. People say, well, health is the real success and health is wealth. I don't necessarily agree. I think it's about more of an equilibrium between all of the elements and
Preferably, yes.
yes,
Yes.
for sure. And I think that there's a level of financial success that could be sacrificed in order to up your health, your level of
To
health.
protect yourself, protect
Exactly.
your health, protect your happiness.
Yeah, and your social and your mental and all of those those things. I think I sometimes have to like pinch myself a little bit and inject a level of gratitude into myself that I sometimes get lost in because, for example, coming out here on a Wednesday afternoon, not many people have the time freedom that people like myself have. I could do this any day I wanted to. I'm still making good money. I'm still very healthy. I have good people around me. I have a dog and I have a lot of different things, and I have a lot of control in a lot of ways that many people don't.
But I think once we have these things, sometimes we just take them for granted.
Yes, for sure. And that's why I said I got to sometimes bring the awareness back to it. It's like, oh, yeah, actually, there's a lot here. I've done quite well seeing as many people are puppets on a string, and I think that's the ultimate level of failure.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to trigger some people and be quite difficult for people to hear, is because they were like, yeah, I'm tied to shackles because I'm working for a company I don't like, for people I don't get on with, for people who
And basically for someone else to get rich.
yeah it's not necessarily to say that like you shouldn't be working for a company. Like
For sure.
I think
Definitely, yeah.
I'd do anything for a bit of security.
Yes,
that,
yes.
that I've never had since I left uni. I've never had a job, right? So I'd do anything for a bit of security, to have a salary that is consistent. But I've got many things that many people will never have, and I think that you've got to, if you're in a job, you've got to create your own freedom in a different type of way. If you're never going to venture down the entrepreneurial route, you can still have more freedom than many entrepreneurs have, because many entrepreneurs I know, they start business for freedom. They have everything but, because they don't have any money. They can't go anywhere because they don't earn a bit of money in the first 6 to 12 months. They have no time because they're constantly working, trying to get the business moving. And their their thoughts and I call it mental real estate, is taken up by the uncertainty of failure and the possibility of failure. So they have zero freedom. Therefore, let's say, I don't want to say they're less successful, but I relate a lot of success to freedom. Freedom of in terms of time, financial freedom, and mental freedom. And you could add health.
Sounds like
freedom.
the ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you have those 3 or 4 elements, you're doing pretty well. You're pretty successful.
Yeah. And moving forward, I would like to know, which role do you think that the community or environment around us plays in our success, in achieving our goals? And especially that nowadays, I feel like our culture is very much oriented towards the self, and there is a very individualistic approach to life.
I've recently started my own community this year.
Okay.
As the start of this year, I set myself a goal: create a community. I've worked with over 150 business leaders and entrepreneurs at this point, but I've never really been able to create a community. Not for my lack of trying, but more so like I just didn't really know how. I couldn't bring my people together. So I really set the intention this year, and I've done that really well. And I've got a great community of business leaders and entrepreneurs in Dubai now and Abu Dhabi. But what I realized with this community is that they have now got the capacity and the opportunity to learn off each other rather than just me. Because I always tell my clients, like, I don't have all the answers for you. I don't have many of the answers for you. Like, you've got your own answers. I'm just here to bring them out of you. And if you're stepping into an environment with other people who you know you could potentially learn from, you could potentially connect with and collaborate with, that gives you one more opportunity to level yourself up and to break the patterns that you've been living through for so long, because it's all about framing, right? You could walk into a room of 10 people but be closed off to any sort of opportunity, mentally closed off. You could walk into another room and you could walk in there saying, like, I'm going to find myself a really good connection in this room. And it's all about framing, and you'll find that connection, I guarantee it. So when people come into my ecosystem, they're already framed like, this is a self-development community. This is a community where people are trying to improve themselves. They're working on their mindset. They're working on their behavior. They're working on their performance. They're scaling their business. Already your mind is framed in a way that I'm going to get value from this community. So they do. And so that comes back around to your question of, well, how does environment and community impact us as individuals when the society is set up as an individualistic? I would argue that deeply ingrained in humanity, society, is community. We are social beings. We will always be. We are wired in that way.
Yes.
So we need people. And I think if you don't have people or don't have the right people, it can be very damaging for you. And you're always going to be limiting yourself. And then you have environment. And I talk about your physical environment, like what's around you, your internal environment, like your body, let's say, physiology.
Interesting approach.
Your mental environment, what happens up here, your digital environment, your phone, your laptop, your TV, like what are you consuming from your digital environment? Or the others? I think that's the four main environments that I speak about. So you have your environments. If you have your environment set up in a way that is damaging or toxic, you're going to get sucked into bad habits and behaviors and bad thoughts. You're constantly consuming and comparing on social media. Of course, we all know what that happens there. If you are eating bad food, what's going to happen to your internal environment here? Nothing good. Nothing good's going to happen if that's the path you're going down. Your physical environment, if it's messy, yeah.
And often, like your house or your close environment is like a reflection of your internal emotions and thoughts.
Absolutely. And because the most important thing here is that information doesn't change behavior. Information doesn't change behavior. So, well, what does change behavior? Emotion changes behavior. Yeah. Being in the right environment changes behavior. Okay, but as soon as you step out of that environment, what's going to happen? You might revert back to old habits. So this is why I think that people need to be careful of how much they're consuming that is impacting your mental environment and your internal environment, because if you're just consuming stuff, information, it's not having an impact on you unless you take actions. Right? You're not committed until you've taken an action. So people who get into self-development and they consume books, they read all the books that everyone knows, Atomic Habits, Joe Dispenza, all of these books that everyone talks about, but they don't take actions and they don't implement anything that is spoken about, they end up in a worse place than people who just ignore that stuff. Because then what happens is they're like, oh, I'm reading all these books and I'm listening to all these podcasts, but nothing's happening in my life. Well, you're not doing anything about it. So then they feel guilty and frustrated at themselves, and it's a self-destructive path. So I think this is actually a worse path to go down than the people who just are actually a bit oblivious to life and kind of float through and think everything's all happy and dandy. So there's a little interesting perspective.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm thinking I would like to be like that. Just
For sure. I think it'd be great.
Enjoying.
Just fly above the clouds and just float along with life. I think that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But that's the interesting thing about people in general, because we can take a lot from those people. I say we. I don't want to put myself above or distance myself from anyone. We're all one in the same. But people who practice self-development, let's say, I am one of those people. You seem like you're one of those people.
Yes.
So people who practice self-development, like I said, we sometimes are guilty of going into our own heads and victimizing ourselves. The ego takes over, and then we're egotistical about the fact that we should be way ahead of where we are. We should be better because we're reading the books. Well, you shouldn't, until you start taking an action and actually focus. And this is why I talk so much about focus. Until you channel your thoughts and focus, nothing's going to change for you.
Yeah.
So jump off the consumption cycle.
I like that.
Yeah.
Picking some of your answers, some of your words, I already kind of know, or I can predict somehow what you will say for the next question, but I still would like to approach this topic because nowadays answering questions with I'm busy, I don't have time because I work super hard, it's seen like a status symbol. And often I think it's as a way to signal like importance or value. So I would like to know your take on this. And how do you think true performance is actually measured?
Well, I mean, people who say that are simply just not set their priorities. That's all it is. It's like everyone has time, but it's a lack of priorities and it's a lack of focus. And then I would say there are people who are, of course, very busy, but they haven't systemized and automated enough. So then they can't take on more because they just don't have the right systems in place in order to perform on a consistent basis. But it's really just a lack of priorities and values. When we talk about values, a lot of people say their values are one thing. I value health, I value family, I value finances and career, whatever. But then their actions tell you a completely different story. Maybe they're spending all their time going out, partying, drinking, doing drugs, smoking, whatever else, indulging in things that maybe they shouldn't. And then they go back to, but my biggest priority is health and wellness, whatever. But yeah, so your values have to be aligned, and then the priorities are then set from those values, right? So then you have a natural hierarchy of behavior. What was your second question about true performance?
Yes, like how do you think that is measured?
I don't think it's measured. Okay, first I think high performance is working or delivering consistently and focusing on the right stuff, focusing on the results, focusing on the right stuff, the KPIs. Could be KPIs in your health or your business or whatever, but it's delivering on those results on a consistent basis without losing yourself, without burning yourself out, without breaking yourself down. And that's got to come from a place of internal balance and equanimity. And I think that many people, they are high achievers, they're not high performers. Because they're acting and performing and operating from a place of fear and insecurity, chasing status and looking for the next dopamine hit, looking for validation. And they achieve the thing, they make that deal, they start that business, whatever, but for the wrong reasons. And I think that's a really important point about performance that many people miss. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why do you want what you want? And I think if you can find balance around all of those things, what you're doing externally, like where you're putting your actions, where you're putting your behaviors, and how it feels for you internally. Are you in a constant tug of war in your mind? Are you in a constant battle and conflict? Are you questioning yourself all the time and doubting yourself? Are you constantly feeling like an imposter? There's probably some sort of lack of balance internally that needs to shift.
Okay.
And maybe you're working on the wrong things.
Okay. I picked a word from your answer, burnout, and I think the hostile culture had a toll us on our mental health, and it affected a lot of people that nowadays are confronting themselves with burnout. So, what are some steps that need to be done in order to suit a bit the situation once the burnout installs?
That's an interesting question. I think burnout's a tricky one because I think many people have different definitions of burnout.
Probably.
I wouldn't say I'm an expert on burnout. I think that there is also kind of a scientific definition of this. I'm not talking about the scientific definition because I don't know much about it. But I think when I talk about burning out, I'm talking about like being completely misaligned.
Yes, I feel like it comes with a sense of detachment, lack of purpose. You feel emotionally exhausted.
Exactly that. And I think that for me is what I would say burnout is. It's not about overworking. It's more about working on the wrong things and giving too much of your time and energy to the things that you don't really care about or people you don't care about.
Yeah.
And I think that leads to a level of burnout or whatever you want to call it. So I think auditing is a massive part of preventing burnout or bringing yourself back to a level of alignment and connection, because you've got to figure out like, okay, well, what happened? Like, what did I do? What was I doing? What was I thinking about? What was I focusing on that led me to a point where I don't even want to work anymore? I have no motivation. I have a lack of purpose. I don't know. I feel a bit lost. And you've got to figure out at source where that came from.
Okay.
And I think from that place, then you can start to build the steps back up. But at the end of the day, just be a bit kinder to yourself. I don't think I just have a bit of a thing about these, like, what's your 5-step plan to stop overthinking? It's like, okay, there's not really any step plan that's going to overcome these things. Burnout, overthinking, like it's not going to allow you to really be introspective. Blueprints, frameworks, they're useful, but at the end of the day, it's deep level of awareness, auditing, and building yourself back up and giving yourself the love and the compassion that you need.
When we talk about burnout, we are often presented the life-work balance as an antidote. What is your take on this? Do you think that really balance is achievable and is also beneficial, or do you think it's more about trying to counterbalance and trying to put energy and focus in different areas of life depending on which stage you are in life at that moment?
I think like balance is going to look different for everyone. And I think that's the most important thing, is like, don't think that balance for you is the same as balance for me.
Definitely.
Right. At the moment, my balance is running 5 or 6 times a week, 10, 15, 20K every time. and doing strength training 2 or 3 times a week,
Mm-hmm.
as well as running a business, walking my dog every day,
Mm-hmm.
and spending time with my partner, and also socializing and playing paddle and golf.
Mm-hmm.
That for me at the moment is balance. I'm like completely all in on work and fitness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another time, balance for me is waking up whenever I want,
Mm-hmm.
doing absolutely no work, maybe reading, maybe going out, whatever. Like balance through the year is going to be periodically different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where most people get it wrong. It's like balance doesn't need to be present on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be internally balanced, not externally balanced,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily externally balanced, should I say? Because, and what I mean by that, I'll specify what I mean by that. Is like if I'm working, if I'm in a 3-week period where I'm working super, super hard, right? Because I've got these things coming up. This is event season for me now. So I'm doing lots of podcasts, doing lots of events, my own events, going to speak at different companies, at different other events, speaking at something that you're going to be attending. So like, I don't really have much time for other random stuff at the moment. And I'm all in on getting myself prepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But what I'm feeling internally is not stress, is not like this exhausted feeling of like, oh, I just don't want to work anymore, or oh, I've got to get myself prepared for this. I'm just like I'm in a space of calm, even though externally I'm crazy busy. What causes the problem is that externally you're crazy busy, and how you relate to that internally is with stress and chaos and negativity and whatever else you want to put on that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that is really like the meaning of life, and what you get out of it is like how you relate to the things outside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where mindset comes in, because that's the first filter. If I was to be thinking, oh my God, I've got 4 events on Thursday and Friday,
And
I don't
then
have enough
this
time.
girl invited me on the podcast.
Yeah, and I've got to go and give my time to this girl I don't even know. No, but yeah, like if I was to be in that mentality, I'm not going to feel good about it. But I've got the choice to think differently, and I'm going to think differently, because those things are going to happen. Those things are going to happen whether I like it or not. And I do like it. I'm very grateful for it. But it's how you relate to it.
Okay.
It like be present with it. And I think that is when I say like internal balance, it's about navigating the external chaos and being internally balanced. I think that's like one of the things that I've been practicing a lot recently, like being this like kind of stoic, calm energy.
That was exactly my thought now. I wanted to say like you look like you have a very stoic approach on
I mean,
life.
I wouldn't say I do, but I try. Like I'm practicing.
Like,
That's
yeah.
what it looks like, and what it is a different story. Up here is chaos. No, but it's like, yeah, that is the practice. And I say it's practice because it is practice. Because there are days, you know, today I just really didn't feel motivated. I had like 5 phone calls this morning, like quick ones, and I didn't really do much else in the day because I didn't want to. Just didn't have the like energy and the focus to do it today. And I didn't beat myself up about it. It is what it is. Like my business isn't gonna fall down if I don't do a few things in my day that I was supposed to do. And that's the reality. So go back to what we were saying, like the balance and the life balance. Balance day to day is not going to be there. But balance within the macro scale of your life, there has to be an element of that. For example, I mean, I know you said you're from Romania, you lived in Germany, but I'm from the UK. My family lives in the UK. Balance on a macro scale is seeing them twice a year, 3 times if I'm lucky. But if I was to see them 0, that's not balance on a macro scale. It's not balance if I don't see or speak to them on a daily basis. That's not necessarily balance. So you've got to make your own sacrifices, and you've got to see balance on a macro scale. I think that's like super important for everyone to realize, is like you might be all in on your health goals for the next 3 months because that has to take priority. you've made your bed and now you've got to sleep in it. Yeah. So make your sacrifices and you're going to figure out your balance along the way on a macro scale. And I think that's such a better way of looking at it and more productive, because most people cannot achieve balance on a daily basis, let alone a weekly basis.
Yeah. I really like that. Really something to reflect on.
But I do think, actually going back to what you were saying is like in relation to burnout, and I think the reason why I've never been burnt out, which is why I can't really speak about it, because a lot of what I say is I'm speaking about from personal experience, not just from reading, but actual personal experience, is because like I'm always working on meaningful projects. So you started this podcast from an intrinsic motivation, intrinsic value of yourself. Like this is something you feel passionate about.
Definitely.
My entire life is made up of that. So I don't think I have the capacity to ever be burnt out. Yeah. Like I said, today I was tired. Like I didn't feel the energy to just to go and chase my goals. I feel that on a let's say a weekly basis every now and again, or maybe every 2 weeks. But burnout, no, never. I don't think I could ever, because of that reason.
Great.
I'm always working on meaningful projects.
That's very meaningful, I can say. And while we are on our journey to achieve our goals and the success that we want, sometimes there is something lurking in the dark and whispering in our ear, you're not good enough, you're not supposed to do this, you don't know what you're doing. And I'm talking about the imposter syndrome. And I think for many people, it gives a feeling of freezing, of shrinking when this is whispered in their ears. And I can say sometimes I'm also one of these people. And how do you think we can use self-doubt as a compass instead of a cage?
Firstly, I think self-doubt and imposter syndrome are different.
Okay.
I think imposter syndrome has a heavier weight and intention to it, and I think it has a more of a damaging impact, and I think it's more scientifically spoken about in the world of literature rather than self-doubt. Self-doubt can come in the form of questions.
Yes.
Can come in the form of, like, are you good enough? Are you sure you can do this? Can you keep going? You're going to fail? That sort of stuff. And I think that separation and that distinction is quite important.
Okay.
So if we lean into self-doubt,
for pointing out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not an expert on imposter syndrome, but I do know that there's a lot of literature behind it, and people talk about that in a scientific way. So leaning to self-doubt, I think this is one of the most prominent things in entrepreneurship, is that constant questioning of myself. And when I talk to my clients about this, one of the things I say is like, well, actually, there's a lot of things to say. The first thing I say is like, well, have you actually answered those questions? Those questions that you get in your head, like, we can call it self-doubt, you can call it questioning yourself, whatever. Like, are you good enough? Well, have you actually sat down, written that question out, and given it an answer? Or are you just allowing that question to take over and overwhelm you because things aren't going your way? Therefore, you're victimizing yourself and saying, yeah, I'm not good enough, I can't do this. Because that's the easy way out. Like you said, it's the cop-out. Yeah. So I say, like, let's be logical about this. And let's actually answer that question. Have you got evidence to say you're good enough, to say that you can achieve this thing? If so, what is the evidence? Is there a reason that you can't achieve this? Maybe flip it on its head. Inversion is a very powerful tactic. Coaching, I use it a lot when setting goals. So flip it on its head. Well, ask the complete opposite question. Yeah. So I think that's that's one of the easiest ways to just combat that. Like, just be a bit more logical about it.
Mm-hmm. I think sometimes it might be also a bit difficult to be very objective in this analysis. You know,
For sure, it's not easy.
Yeah,
it's definitely not easy.
To have like a clear analysis, and
that's why you have a coach who can analyze you for you.
No,
but it's it's an easy thing to do if you're not in your own head. In your head, you're dead. That's what another quote from Tony Robbins. In your head, you're dead. Right. So if this goes back to the spiral of the thought process that you're stuck in, one thought leads to another thought, leads to another thought, and you go down in this spiral. Okay. And if you don't analyze and you don't step out of that pattern, you're going to go down further. But if you have someone external who can interject, who can interrupt the patterns. So, okay, Catherine, you're doubting yourself. Okay, let's talk about that. That's a different process to what you usually experience. So then I'm taking you on a different path. Okay, I'm gonna push you over to this side because I know that there's a better and more productive path for you over here. If I can ask you this question and you can talk about that, that's a different path. Other than if I leave you to your own doing, you're going to go deeper into the hole. So to pattern interrupt is going to be one of the best ways to do that as well. Self-doubt is always going to be there, I think.
Yes.
Personally, I don't think I've spoken to anyone who's not experiencing self-doubt at the highest levels, the lowest levels, anywhere in between.
Yeah.
But how can you act in spite of those questions and thoughts? That's the question you need to ask. How can I take action in spite of self-doubt? Because there's still things you can do. You can still move the needle. And that's high performance at its finest. Is like, how can I still create movement in spite of self-doubt, procrastination, whatever other things are going on in my mind?
Okay, good. I'm taking the notes. And now that we are approaching the end of our conversation, I have a thought in mind related to the word sparrow, which is the name of my podcast, of my brand. And it means I hope in Latin. I know you have also some Latin roots. And I think many people would say that hope is something so fragile, maybe even naive. I would like to know your opinion on hope. Do you think it's a soft emotion, or it can be a powerful tool in our transformation?
Hope is everything, because hope relates to meaning, right? If you have hope, it means you have meaning. You have a reason to get up, because you have hope and you have this goal. And if you don't have that, you have no meaning, you have no reason to act. So I think that holding on to hope, no matter what, is actually all you actually have.
I like to say, when you have nothing left, you still have hope. Exactly.
And anyone, no matter where they are in their journey, can set themselves a target and give themselves meaning. I speak about goals a lot. And this is the same thing. Right? I don't believe there's any such thing as a disciplined individual. I don't believe there's any such thing as someone who is just so on the ball, super sharp, never misses. There's no one who is like that. Discipline, in my opinion, doesn't exist. You just have people with very, very good goals and a lot of meaning. And I think I'm one of those people, because I'm setting myself goals. I've just set myself a challenge of running 24 hours in the Alula Desert in Saudi Arabia. It's a proper race. It's a 24-hour run. And I've set myself a target of running 100 miles.
Wow.
160 kilometers. So this is a goal that I've set myself, and since I set myself the goal, I've been running pretty much every day.
Mhm.
Even when I'm tired, even when it's
I'm
70.
also running away
Yeah.
from my problems.
There we go. There we go. So am I. That's probably what I'm actually doing. But 70% humidity, 80% humidity, morning, evening, middle of the day. Like I'm running every day when I've got time. So like when we talk about hope, it's that you have a reason to get up and do what you need to do. You have an obligation. And I think that at the very least, if you feel like you've got nothing going for you, set yourself a goal. Set yourself a goal. If you have that little bit of awareness to just do something, set yourself a goal that will lock in the focus and the discipline that you need in order to get moving and to get started. Like the most important thing for us to have is goals. Everyone has goals, in fact. Some people just don't know them. And I think that's dangerous because then you go down a path which society chooses for you.
Very powerful. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate your time and your wise words. And I'll see you at the next event.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.